Welcome to week 20 of my weekly reads. We're going to go over the 6 books that I currently have started. Then I will share with you throughout the week where I'm at in those books, get them done, hopefully start some other ones, and just keep moving. I think next week I'm going to share my monthly goals and see if I've met them, because in week 21 I'll have 6 days until May is ended, which is crazy. It is May 19th, by the way. This is the last week of school/work. I work at a school and I have children at school, so my life is definitely changing this week. We'll see how it goes. I just want to finish well, I want my kids to finish well. But let's jump into the 6 books I have started. The first one is my audiobook, and it is Go the Distance by Jen Calonita. This is a twisted tales where we are in the movie Hercules. However, Hercules is not our main character, Meg is, and we get to learn about Meg's past and kind of why she made the decisions she did. I will say I don't remember the movie very well, and so I don't know what parts of the book are just retelling the movie and what are new parts. But this book is about Meg on the journey to become a Greek god. This morning I was 44% of the way through. I've listened to a little bit, and so I think I'm about 50% of the way through now. It's a shorter audiobook. I listened to Drums of Autumn last week, which is a 42-hour audiobook. So all these other audiobooks seem so short. My second book that we'll talk about is Whispers of Hope by Beth. This is the devotional I read with my quiet time. 70 days. However, there are days I'll read more than one, but it is all about prayer. I'm liking it, but definitely not loving it. I've debated switching. I'm just going to keep trucking along for a little bit. I am 23% of the way through, so maybe it will start clicking and connecting. I don't think it's a bad devotional. I just don't think it is the devotional for me at this time, if that makes sense. The third book is the prequel to Alatse, which I read last month. It's Linde. This book follows Alatse, or Ellie as she was known in that book, grandma. So we're back in the past following her grandma and kind of getting some more information with the powers. It's a magical realism young adult book, but with heavy emphasis on mystery. So in this book, Ellie's grandma, known as Sheine, mom's missing, and Sheine, her brother, her grandparent, some friends are all on this quest to find her mom, and so we're getting information. We can trust some people. So I'm enjoying that book. I am about 73% of the way through, so it should be done in the next couple days. The fourth book is one I'd love to finish this week. It is my physical book. It's Labyrinth's Heart. My realistic goal is finishing by the end of the month. It is the third book in the Rook and Rose trilogy, and I like that series. I don't love it, and with it being a third book, it's very hard to explain without giving spoilers. Just know I'm slowly working my way through. I am 32% of the way through, but it is a 600-page book, and I typically only read it in the mornings. With school and work ending, my reading times are going to be changing. The last 2 books are books, if you've watched any of the more recent ones, have been on, and the first one is the Gratitude Journal. I just pick a prompt and write in it for the day. I want to number the pages because the prompts aren't numbered, the pages aren't numbered, so I can't tell how far I am in on them. I have missed days, and I know that there are 365 prompts, but there are 2 to 3 prompts on a page, so it's a little bit difficult to figure out where I'm at. So my goal for this week is to put page numbers on it. We'll see if that happens by the end of the week. The other one is the Bible. I have a reading plan that if I stick to it, by the end of the year, I will have read the whole entire Bible. And with that, I'm about 37% of the way through, which means we're 37% of the way through the year, because on days I miss, I do catch up in that. Those are the 6 books that I've started for the week. Let me know in the comments what you're reading, or if you've read any of these books, and I will keep you updated throughout the week. That will be my goal. We will see. I'll at least tell you in a week.
Happy Tuesday. So I finished Sheine Linde last night. It is the prequel to Alatse, and it is set in 1970, and we are following Alatse's grandma as her mom has gone missing, and so there's a group of people who are looking for them, and along the way we are learning more about their family and the power magic that they have, which I liked. I did like the magical realism in this book a little bit better because it is set in the 70s versus like more current time. However, I liked the story of Alatse and was a little bit more invested in that book than this book. So there's that. I don't know if I've just been reading a lot of YA books. I'm kind of feeling over them. I want a little bit more in-depth books. So I don't know if that's it. But yes, I liked it. I'm glad I read it. We got more information on Alatse's family, as I said, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I don't know if I'm gonna give it like a 3.75 actual rating, because I don't think it's quite a 4-star read for me. I don't know if it's a 3.5-star read either, but I feel like either way, both of those kind of like round up to 4 stars for Goodreads. That's where I'm at right now, is I think 3.75. Last night I did start Like Water for Chocolate. It's a shorter book. It's a translated book and it was on the Rory Gilmore book list. I am about 33% of the way through. I'm in the month of May. This book goes month by month and talks about a recipe, and basically that recipe is important in the story. So far we're following Tita. She's the youngest daughter, and so she has to stay with her mom and kind of take care of her as she ages. Tita is not very excited about this because her true love had to marry her sister because he couldn't marry her, and now there's a doctor that likes her and she had to like give him the news that I can't marry. So it's just a very interesting dynamic that we're reading about. Like, her true love had a baby with her sister and Tita's been able to like take care of the baby, and it's just a very, very interesting world that she lives in and the expectations she is not a fan of. It is a shorter book. I think I'm 33% of the way, 40% of the way through. I'm up to May. I feel like I never update you in real time. We had some really bad weather earlier this week, and so we're outside picking up sticks, but I finished Go the Distance by Jen Calonita, which is the Hercules retelling. I will give you my review on that now. Editing Annalise here. You will see a lot of me this reading vlog because I actually finished 7 books in the course of this week and only did 1 review in real time. So we're gonna jump in to Go the Distance by Jen Calonita. This is a twisted tale and a Hercules retelling, reimagining, where we are finished with the Hercules movie, but Hercules and Meg cannot be together because Meg is not a god. So Meg goes on a journey to become a god. She has to help her ex's wife, and so we get into a look on her and the ex and the relationship they had and kind of what happened there, and then the timeline for her ex and the current wife, and how Meg fits into all of this. It was a very interesting read as she's going on this quest. I liked the Hercules movie growing up. It definitely wasn't one that I like watched a lot. I don't think we owned this one, so I know I probably missed some connections from the movie and the book. I end up giving that book 3.75 stars. And then the audiobook that I started was Belzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress, I believe is what it's called. It is on the Rory Gilmore book list, and it is a translated work, which was the prompt for this month. And so I started listening to this. I'm about 40% of the way through. I found it on YouTube. It is a pretty short audiobook. I'm enjoying it. It's about 1971 and these 2 little boys that are transported from the city to the countryside and their experience there and the little seamstress they meet. It's very interesting.
Sticks we have?
Yeah, we have so many sticks.
We have 100.
So many sticks. This is why I don't update you very often during the day, because I have children talking to me all the time. But I'm listening to that audiobook while I'm picking up sticks and chatting with my children, and I will keep you updated. But like I said, I think I'm about 45% of the way through. There's a YouTube playlist with each chapter, so I'm just guessing based on the number of videos I've done and how many are left. I haven't really done the math to see how long of an audiobook it is. Editing Annalise here again. I finished Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. As I said, this is a translated work on the Gilmore Girls book list. This was translated from Spanish. It revolves around a Mexican family. As I said, Tita is the youngest daughter and has to take care of her mom because that's the rule in the family. But on top of it being hard because of her loves, her and her mom also don't have a great relationship. And it took me a while to realize this book had magical realism in it. There is so much happening in this book because it is broken into months, and the story does go chronologically, and we are in that month that we're talking about. But this book takes place over years, not just a year, but each month has a recipe, and there's like home remedies in here, but then there's magic, there's historical fiction. I just felt like there's a lot going on. It was a pretty easy read. I went back and forth on what to give this book. I ended up on a 3.75, but I debated on between that and a 4. So it is the 22nd. It is the first day of summer break for me and my littlest, and I woke up so stuffy, so this is helping me breathe. But I finished the audiobook for Water for Chocolate. I will insert my review now. So I finished Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress by Daya Ciji. This was a translated work from French actually. However, the author is Chinese but left after this
historical event that I'd never heard of. It was the Chinese Cultural Revolution. They took educated kids from the city and moved them to little communities. And that's what happened to our two main characters. They're two boys, they're 17 and 18. One has a violin and brings it with him, and the townspeople let him keep it and they really enjoy his music. Another one is a really good storyteller. And so I think those two things kept the boys safer than I think they would be, because this town is a very rough town. They both fall in love with the seamstress, as boys would do, and just see their experience during this time. And I started listening to Playing to Score by Sasha. This is the second book in a series, and we are following the female main character's brother in this book, and he absolutely loves this girl. His name is Reese, and he absolutely loves Skylar, has since high school. He is now a professional psychologist, and he is asked to go be the psychologist for the football team. If you're from America, it's soccer, and Skylar plays on this team. So you're just listening to him, and he's trying so hard to be professional, but he absolutely loves her. And Skylar's really down on herself, and so he really just wants to help her. So far it's been real interesting. I finished Playing to Score, which is the second book in the Playing the Field series. I kind of gave you a little bit of a synopsis earlier, and that very much carries out through the rest of the book, where Reese has been attracted to Skylar since high school. Skylar didn't really give him any mind in high school because she had been dating her boyfriend, who's now her ex. He hasn't treated her very well, and so she's working through that. But Skylar finds him very attractive now, and Reese is honestly loving it, but very torn professionally, like if he should have a romantic relationship, since he technically works for the team. He sees her more as a client and not as a possible romantic partner, which devastates him. And we also see some things that he is working through. I like this book. I think it was a fun sports romance, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Editing Annalise here again. A book that I started and finished during this week that I didn't mention one time, which is wild to me because I absolutely love it. It was a 5-star read. It was Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is the first book in the Boys of Tommen series. I've heard about this book so much, but decided to pick it up. It is a pretty lengthy book, but I read it so quickly because I loved it so much. The characters are set in high school, however, they're dealing with much more mature subject matter, and what I've heard is they're changing the rating from young adult to adult, which I think they should, just because of the subject matter. And these high schoolers definitely act older than they would because of the situations that they've been put in. On the surface, it is a sports romance where Johnny is the head of the rugby team at the high school. He actually plays higher up, and so he is very dedicated. The way he eats, trains, all the things all revolve around rugby. And he meets Shannon on her first day at this high school, and Shannon is very shy. She's dealt with bullying at her old school, which is how she ended up here. And the very first day, Johnny hits her with a rugby. That does not start out very well, but instantly he cares about her. Instantly she's important to him, but doesn't know why. She's very guarded, and we unravel things about her family because this is a school you have to pay for, and so that is a big burden on her family. Plus the other dynamics in her family are not great at all. This is a dual point of view, so you do see that both characters really like each other, but for different reasons don't want to pursue anything. And there is a second book in the series, and it definitely left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm excited to jump into the second book of the series. Editing Annalise here for the very last time, but I finished When You Wish Upon a Star by Elizabeth Lem. This is a twisted tale about Pinocchio. Pinocchio is not our main character, the Blue Fairy is, and the premise is what if the Blue Fairy was not supposed to help Pinocchio. So to figure that all out, we go back 40 years when the Blue Fairy was a human Chiara. She had a sister who loved opera, and Chiara just wanted to help people. One day, the fairies, who Chiara didn't really believe in, come and ask her if she would like to be a fairy. They give her the rules, some options. They're going to teach her all of the things, and you kind of go through that through the first part of the book. She obviously ultimately decides to be a fairy. Then Pinocchio is here, and we see why she cannot help Pinocchio and how that could break the rules, and so she has to make that decision. I like this book. Pinocchio wasn't my favorite, and that is definitely translated in these books. If they aren't my favorite, then the reimagining isn't my favorite. And so I did end up giving this book 3.5 stars. So technically today is May 27th. It is a Tuesday, so it is a day late. But yesterday was a holiday. My husband was off. We did some house things, which was really exciting, but I didn't get a chance to update y'all. So I'm just gonna share where I'm at with the books as of today, and we'll start week 21 as of today. It'll just be a little bit of a shorter reading week, which will be interesting since the end of the month is approaching. So The first book that I'm in the middle of, about 10%, is Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the fourth and final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. We followed siblings up until this point, but in this book we are following Cam. She is the baby mama of one of the siblings. They have a really good relationship, but she is getting her chance of romance. At the beginning of the book, she is about to get married, but life intercedes and she ends up at a bar with Dusty. Dusty is the one who got away. It's a dual point of view perspective, which I absolutely love in romance books, and I feel like I'm just gonna eat this book up. My audiobook is Mistborn: The Final Empire. It is the first book in the Mistborn saga by Brandon Sanderson. This is an adult fantasy, and I loved another series I read by Brandon Sanderson. I've been really intimidated to read his other books just because there's a whole universe, and so I'm about 8% into this book and I'm still piecing everything together. I'm really excited to see what it's about because I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I'll give you more details on that audiobook in next week's reading vlog. The third book is my second ebook. Wild and Wrangled was also my ebook, but it is The Maid Secret by Nita Prose. This is the third book in the Molly the Maid series. In this book, treasure hunters are coming to the hotel. She gathers some of her things and one of them ends up being very valuable. And so we're in the current timeline figuring out what's going to happen with this very valuable thing because it does go missing. And then we're also in her grandma's timeline as she is a 17-year-old. And so we're figuring out why this is so important. There's also another item that they keep mentioning but haven't said if it's important yet. I'm very curious, but it's just very interesting because this was not the backstory you would think that her grandma would have had in the other books. Her grandma has since passed. Very interesting, and I was 51% of the way through this morning. The fourth book is one that I would read with my Bible reading each day, and it's Whispers of Hope by Beth Moore. I am now 47% of the way through, so I made some progress. This is one of these devotionals I'm not absolutely loving. It's broken into really short chunks, which I don't love. However, there has been some valuable bits and pieces, and so I'm going to continue reading that during my quiet time in the morning. With that, I'm still working on reading through the Bible. I am a few days behind because of my weekend, so that needs to be worked on, as well as my gratitude journal. I started numbering the pages, I just didn't finish it, so I want to finish numbering the pages next week so I can give you a better idea of where I'm at in that book. The last book is my physical book, and it is the Labyrinth Heart by M.A. Carrick. It is the third and final book in the Rook and Rose trilogy. So I got to 47% and I'm liking it, not loving it. And it's the book I typically read in the morning, but with summer starting and we have some things going on in the morning, I'm not sure how often I'm going to be reading that. I need to work on getting up earlier so I can read it. Those are all the books that I'm currently reading. Like I said, stay tuned for week 21. So let me know if you've read any of the books in this week's reading vlog, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!